So I was just walking and I had a few thoughts about, well, thinking. Uh, I'm in this park right now and I was looking at the trees and I was thinking about how uh, usually the way we go through life is we have a tendency, we want to think everything out. We basically live our lives almost entirely in the realm of thought. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I know I certainly spent a good deal of my life sort of lost in thought. And I know many other people are. I think compared to what is like a natural baseline, almost everybody is lost in thought. Uh, so I was just looking at the trees in this park, and it occurred to me how trees grow in both directions, right? Uh, the most substantial part of the tree is its trunk. It's not the leaves. Most of the tree is in the trunk, right? And if you were to equate a tree, like this physical structure of a tree, to the human body, uh, intellect and thought would most certainly be the leaves, right? I mean, you know this for yourself. Intellect is very heady and up here, right? You feel it up here when you're analyzing and thinking, as opposed to, if you're just walking or like eating, it's like you may feel it in your stomach, your hips, your legs, right? My point is, I think we can agree that thinking is like it's all up here, right? Uh, so I guess what I was saying is, then I was wondering when why do we have such a disproportionate we spend such a disproportionate amount of energy in our thoughts when all around us, like the natural order seems to be that things originate in the center and branch out both ways. I mean, talking about trees, we're not even looking at the roots. They say that as tall up as you can see a tree, the roots go down into the earth that deep. So the whole tree itself is actually twice as tall, including its roots. And yet, I think most of us in like quote civilized countries who were super intellectual and were prideful of that, being all stuck up and intellectual and like really smart and thinking all the time. That's like having a tree with just the leaves and no trunk. And I think I don't know, it's just a little metaphor, but I think it kind of gets at why we have a mental illness epidemic, because we're getting to be all leaves and no trunk. You know, these trees can withstand like enormous winds and just crazy forces because they're so solid at the base The roots go down so deep, and it's only because of that stability that they can branch out and bifurcate and create like so many leaves. There is no trunk. It'd just be a bunch of leaves. So I feel like the sort of customary mental state, like the distracted, anxious state of mind of like a quote educated person, right? Uh, it's there. It's not naturally stable. And I mean, really, why is it that so many of us go through school, we learn everything we're taught, we memorize all this information, and we come out of school and we're still like sussed out and weird and like everyone's fucking depressed these days. It seems like it just doesn't make sense. Like humans are, it's obvious looking at humans, we're animals. You know? We our lives can be so intellectual we can kind of forget that we're animals, and we all the activity is hoisted up into the like we're top heavy with information. Well, I don't know. I think this is sort of like, to me it feels like this is what kind of what causes like depression and various like uncomfortable mental states. Maybe not causes, but it's a way of looking at it. I mean, yeah, just look around. Like, I was so lost in my thoughts, this didn't even occur to me until now. I'm just looking around at these trees, and most of it is the trunk, which is totally boring, and it's just one thing, right? You know, we want to make our lives really colorful and dynamic and have lots of memories and do lots of things and be like interesting people. But look at anything in nature. All the like exciting parts are just the decoration on top. You know, the colorful leaves and like you can only get that complexity if you have the strong base to hold it. So we went through school and just soaked up all this information, but you kind of, if you want to hold that information, you kind of need to build your body up. Like, you need to have a strong trunk, and the trunk analog in the human body is it really has nothing to do with thinking at all. And since I don't know why, we're kind of habitually taught to that like being smart is kind of the highest state of evolution. Kind of like you know, we were graded based on how well we could memorize, and that was drilled into us that is somehow makes you better, and it will equate to success in the future and feeling good and healthy if you're smart, meaning if you can absorb information. And think about this. You're like an animal. And for the first like 20 something years of your life, I mean, this probably depends on where you are, but I know at least my experience going through school, phys ed, compared to like what it could have actually been, was a joke, right? We're sitting in one place all day, not moving at all, just stiff and cramped when we're animals, and we just have some random stranger like just feeding us these words. And like, sure, that stuff's great to learn and, keep civilization moving forward. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, knowledge. We should like preserve it, but it's not healthy to retain all that information. Yeah, well, that's just something that occurred to me. I mean, yeah, like if you see a cat or like most animals, they're like, they can run so fast. They're like right, like cats can jump insanely high, and I mean, it's kind of off topic, but um, I'm saying that should be the foundation on which we like develop our intellect. You need to have a strong base and core if you want to hold these thoughts, and that's why we're all fucking depressed, because I don't know. I was born in 1999. Everyone like in my age group, we grew up with the like internet and just like staring into a computer screen, just absorbing so much information. And it's just even crazier now with smartphones. And I don't want to be one of those people saying like technology is bad, because it's not. It's really good. But my point is, no wonder we're fucking miserable, because we're so scattered. We're just like a pile of leaves that has no resilience. The slightest wind comes, they all just start blowing all over the place, because there's just a bunch of disparate pieces of thought. And see, here's something really interesting. I've been just sort of like paying attention to my thoughts, especially like thoughts that trigger a distinct like response, like the uncomfortable thoughts or extremely like thoughts of like extreme desire, just like things I really care about, things I think about often. And I've been paying attention to how that feels in the rest of my body when I think of certain things. And it's really quite clear to me now that your thoughts and your body are not really two separate things. And we kind of come to this assumption that, there's this body and mind, like go balance them or whatever, like, but your thoughts are really just a functioning of your body. They're like the leaves of your body. They're the subtlest limb we have. And my point is, so that's why to think clearly, you need to, you're like, literally, you need like neck muscles, and like you gotta keep your head supported with with stability. You know what I mean? Because I know I would just, when I was a kid, I would just like daydream and think about random stuff, and I would just kind of like go slack jawed, and I was just like just getting so complex, like thinking about shit all the time, and I never really uh like took care of my body, because teachers and basically everywhere I looked was like, oh, like science is great. um I don't know, I kind of had this like feeling like being smarter made me better. So uh or basically just using information was better, and I kind of regarded uh like the body as secondary. And I'm willing to bet most people who would consider themselves uh like depressed, um I mean, I don't know, I can't make a judgment on this, of course, but it's remarkable how connected your thoughts are with your body. Literally, when you think of every time you think of a certain thing, there is a place in your body that thought is like kind of attached to. And I know there are some forms of therapy that actually leverage this effect, where you try to decondition yourself from obsessively thinking about certain things by paying attention to where it resonates in your body at large, and using that connection to heal it, right? uh, and yeah, I mean, that's so true, and it's really quite obvious and simple, and uh, yeah, just just some random stuff that occurred to me. Humans humans were made to be happy first, and then when a problem comes, you deal with it. But it's not supposed to be such a huge thing. Like, we're not supposed to be worrying about things when there's no immediate threat to our survival. It doesn't make sense. We've sort of just been born into this mass hysteria. Uh, and it's kind of comforting to obsessively worry about shit, because then you like I don't can't remember what my point was. um there's a way to live and not be worrying all the time. uh, Believe it or not, that's not natural. And it's not like there's something wrong with you. uh More like you're kind of like fucked up a little on the inside. You're not balanced like a tree. uh yeah. Yeah, so be like a tree. I'll see you later.